My name's Aron Rael. I was born in 1957, January 1957, at the Holy Cross Hospital in Taos, when it was still operated by the Catholic Church. I've been raised and spent most of my life in Questa, New Mexico. Questa is a unique little community. It sits in one of the most beautiful valleys in northern New Mexico, the Rio Colorado Valley, the Red River Valley. It's also one of the richest valleys in northern New Mexico. There's gold, silver, copper, and a unique metal called molybdenum that has been mined here since the 1920s, almost 100 years. Molybdenum has been a blessing and a curse for this community, as has mining been for many communities in the West. But Questa in itself wasn't started as a mining community. It first began as a land grant community. This was the gateway to the Pueblo lands. The Kiowa Trail ran through this valley. And for generations prior to the settlement of Questa by the Spanish crown and the Mexican governments, the Pueblos would put their Apache allies in valleys like Questa, and these allies would warn of war bands coming down to attack the Pueblos or trading parties that would be coming. And in the same vein, in 1815, I guess it was under the Spanish crown, a grant was given to some mestizo ranchers. If they would settle here and build a settlement, that they would be able to have land in common. And their purpose was that too. They were to protect Taos. If any war bands would be coming, war parties would be coming down the Kiowa Trail, which ran from Colorado into the Pueblo lands, that they would first encounter a farmer-soldier group here in Questa. There are many tales of the battles fought here in Questa. Questa was the frontier. It was it was the borderlands. This was actually Ute and Apache territories. The Red River separated the Pueblo lands from the Ute Nation's lands. Land in common. Each family, and I think there was 35 families that were offered land here in Questa if they would stay and defend this valley. They would each get a small plot of land that they could build their house, keep their small flock of sheep and probably a horse or a mule on, and raise a small garden. The rest of the land was to be held in common. The mountains, the water, everything was to be shared. One of the first things that the early settlers had to do was to build the irrigation system, the acequia system, and that was to be shared by everyone. By building an acequia system, they were able to raise crops. The crops would sustain them through the winter, but the other thing that these settlers were doing is that they were raising crops to illegally trade with the Plains tribes. These were the infamous Comancheros. They would ride from these villages of northern New Mexico with their wagons laden with pumpkins and anything else that they would be able to trade, and they would go out, meet their mostly Comanche trade partners, have basically a what we'd call now a powwow. You know, there'd be partying and gambling and lots of fun going on, and we would trade for, believe it or not, for guns, knives, stuff like that that the Comanches had more access to. The Comanches had the best horses of the Southwest. My ancestors mostly rode mules. So this was what Questa was in the early settlement. One of the first things they also had to build together, was a church, a chapel. It took them over 10 years to build the church in Questa, and every Saturday each family had to contribute labor and food for the construction of the church, so it was a joint effort. In 1821, Mexico gained its independence from Spain. Inspired by the American Revolution, Mexico also fought its War of Independence and won independence in 1821. And what it did, it opened up trading with the North American United States. And so Taos was one of the trade centers that trade was coming into, and with that there was a number of Americans coming into this little valley of Questa. Along with that, there were numerous beaver trappers who basically trapped out all of the beaver in northern New Mexico. That went to the beaver trade, and after that the trade was buffalo robes and anything else that could be traded here in northern New Mexico. Excuse me. 1846, the United States declared war on the young country of Mexico. It defeated Mexico, capturing a third of its territory, including New Mexico, Arizona, California. And there was a couple of interesting things that happened. While there was resistance, let's back it up and start that there was resistance. There was the infamous Taos battle, where the governor, Bent, was killed, along with several other Americans and American sympathizers. It started out with 500 rebels in Taos. In 2 days, it had grown to 3,000 rebels marching toward Santa Fe. They were met by the American forces by